Hello viewer, I'm Zach, and since 2016 I've also held the moniker No More Updates on PlayStation. Throughout the years I've platinumed and completed over 400 games, including some well-known difficult ones. And after years of watching some amazing content creators, I decided it was time to start sharing my journeys with the world as well. I don't have a set schedule for uploading videos, but I am working to try to ensure a new video comes out at least every 2 months. At any rate, I hope you enjoy seeing what my experience is like, and maybe, just maybe, seeing my videos get better in quality as I continue making them. I appreciate you stopping by to check out the video, and hope you enjoy this episode of the Platinum Journey.
Welcome back to the Platinum Journey. This time around, I'll be talking about War of the Monsters, specifically the 2025 version. And I say specifically because this PS2 classic was actually re-released back in December of 2015 with 18 trophies and no platinum, making it just a 100% list on the PS4. That list was pretty solid, basically asking you to do everything. Beat the story, unlock all the characters, the specialty costumes, the minigames, etc. However, in April of this year, the game was re-released for PS4 and PS5 with a whole new and much easier trophy list of 21 trophies, finally including a platinum to obtain. With this new list, instead of unlocking everything, now all that needs to be done is to complete the story with a few miscellaneous tasks, unlock and play all 3 minigames, and then just make 5 purchases in the unlock shop using the tokens earned along the way. Additionally, the game now has the ability to make save states and use a rewind feature, which is definitely something I took advantage of to avoid losing all of my lives in some of the boss fights. Well, with all that in mind, I'll now take you through the Platinum Journey for War of the Monsters 2025. This game is a kaiju-esque arena fighter, similar to the likes of others like Gigabash, Dawn of the Monsters, or more notably, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. Yes, this is a game that features all the expected fighters. Wannabe King Kong, Giant Bug, Legally Distinct Voltron ripoff, Tiki Torch Man and his best friend, Goro from Mortal Kombat if he lived in a volcano. You get the gist. There's a story to follow about how scientists are conducting experiments on various creatures, thus resulting in the gigantification of some titans, as well as the end of where an alien race, the Zorgulons, try to take over the Earth and your monster's humanity's last hope. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I appreciate the effort, but I'm here to kick butt and chew gum. Well, you get the point. Diving right in, I decided to tackle the longest part of the Platinum, which was simply to beat the adventure mode and complete a few miscellaneous tasks along the way. There are 11 chapters to beat, and each one results in earning a trophy, which knocks out half of the trophy list.
The first chapter, Day of the Colossus, provides an opportunity to knock out one of the miscellaneous trophies. Oops, did I do that? Which is obtained by crushing an opponent under a building. Doing this results in an insta-kill, but this is only available with certain buildings throughout the game, and can often be more of a time waster to try to make it happen. However, it works out easy enough here, which defeated Kongor, beating the chapter and also earning the trophy Midtown Rumble. The second chapter, Revenge of Togera, pits us against the monster Togera. So I also earned the first of 2 stage-specific trophies. This one is called Blade Master, which is earned by wielding the sword in the stage Gambler's Gulch. Earning this just required me to destroy the rock that is holding the sword behind where I spawned. Then I picked it up and immediately earned the trophy. You don't even need to attack with it or anything, I just got the trophy as soon as it was picked up. Despite how simple this trophy is, I struggled a little bit because I was still getting used to the controls and Togera wouldn't freaking leave me alone. Once I finally unlocked that trophy, I reloaded my save and started the match over again to get a fresh set of health and my special attack back. After finally taking out Togera, the military shows up to try and destroy me by calling in help from the next character on the roster, Robo47. This fight isn't much harder, and the only annoying thing really about any of these fights is the fact that the opponents are smart enough to go search out health pickups when they get damaged enough, but regardless, I took out the Robo and earned the trophy Hot Streak for beating the second chapter. Chapter 3 is Outpost X and features the first boss fight of the game. However, the match starts by fighting a few weaker versions of the monster Praetor that just keep crawling out of the ground. As I said, they are weaker, so 1 or 1.5 combos are usually enough to take them out. And after enough of them defeated, Goliath Prime, the first boss, showed up, and this fight has 2 phases. The first phase, the boss throws bombs that needed to be picked up and thrown back at it. They did little damage, but thankfully the phase is only very short, maybe about a quarter of his health. After I threw enough of them, the Goliath Prime jumped down to the ground for a more direct fight. Now I could actually do some combos, guard the boss's attacks, or even use my special. However, the real solution came in the form of a boulder that I could pick up and throw. Doing this, I was able to lock the boss in the same loop and defeat it in a matter of seconds without it ever getting another hit, earning me the trophy Goliath Upset. On to Chapter 4, The Creeping Chaos. Starting out, this was a fight against the regular version of the monster Praetor, which I just fought a few weaker variants back in the previous chapter, as well as Mecha Kongor. Yep, the same monster from Chapter 1 returned, and this time it was half machine, half ape monster. But in reality, it's just a costume and the attacks were all the same. I didn't have any stage-specific trophies in this chapter, so after struggling just a bit to take out 2 monsters, I finally succeeded to end the chapter. The biggest thing that helped me in this fight was to do all I could to focus on just one monster at a time, and it makes sense that a 1v1 fight is easier than a 1v2 fight, and I eventually bested both the beasts and earned the trophy Seek Out Your Prey. Chapter 5, It Came From the Skies, pitted me against 2 of the same monster, Raptros. This is the first of 2 monsters that are not unlocked from the start of the game. Unlocking this monster requires spending 200,000 tokens in the Unlocks menu, but this wasn't required in this new trophy list, so it doesn't really matter here. Anyway, like the previous chapter, this was another 1v2 battle, and also like the previous chapter, it was annoying at times. Raptros can fly around, so that made things really difficult when I was feeling like I did good damage only for one of them to fly to the nearest health pickup. At this point, I still wasn't properly using the save load feature that the PS5 version offered, so I spent more time than I would have liked trying to just chase them down. The thing I should have done sooner was use the bigger parts of the destroyable airplane to deal damage. Throwing the jet turbine from it is an instant knockdown and can be repeated like the boss fight back in Chapter 3. Well, I finally took both of these raptors down and earned the trophy. That's a wrap, people. Chapter 6, Battle for Atomic Island, was the next boss stage, and just like Chapter 3, this one also started with fighting some weaker enemies before finally getting to the boss. This fight took place on Atomic Island, a science research station on the brink of total annihilation. After a UFO crashes into the power plant, the Titan Kineticlops is born. So starting out, I took out Kineticlops after Kineticlops until eventually the research base announces loudly that the island will face core meltdown in 10, 9, 8, and so on. Once the island exploded, the boss of the arena, Vegan, made its entrance. Vegan is a mutated plant that had 3 heads that each needed to be taken out. There's only one phase of the boss fight, but it had repeating cycles until it was defeated. I started by dodging the attacks as best I could, and honestly, it seemed like most of the damage was just unavoidable, unfortunately. I had to grab one of the pieces of debris from the arena and throw it quickly before the mouth attacked and closed. Then, it would dig into the ground and shoot roots up all around where I was standing, but these were easy enough to avoid damage just by jumping. Then it was just a matter of repeating the same steps again. Dodge projectiles as best I could, throw a piece of debris at the next open mouth, and then dodge the roots until the boss was finally defeated. After 6 iterations, I earned the trophy. So long, Vegan. Battle of the Titans is the name of Chapter 7, and it started with a fight against 2 Robo-47s, the same mechabot that showed up in Chapter 2 after defeating Togera. There wasn't really anything special about this fight, and at this point I started getting in the groove of controlling the fights to be more in my control, both using the save and load feature, as well as focusing on just one enemy at a time. Once I beat both of them, nothing else showed up, and the chapter ended, earning me the trophy Twisted Scrap Metal. Chapter 8, Terror in Paradise. It has 2 new monsters to fight and our final miscellaneous stage-specific trophy to earn. To earn the trophy Rain Down with Fire, I needed to travel up to the volcano and dive attack in a crater that causes the volcano to erupt. It took me a second to get the controls figured out, but once I looked it up, it was just as simple as jumping and pressing forward triangle to do a dive attack. Doing this caused the volcano to erupt, and then I got my trophy. So after that, I just needed to take down the 2 titans, Agamo and Magmo. Neither of them were anything special. I knocked out Agamo first for no other reason other than it was the first monster I got low enough to defeat. And then I followed that up by defeating Magmo, and earned the trophy Brave the Elements, ending the chapter. The levels in Adventure Mode are set, so depending on which character you choose, you'll eventually be fighting the same monster, and that's what Chapter 9 was for me. Destroyer Wave was the name of this chapter, and it had me fight 2 Ultra V bots. I was kind of disappointed there wasn't a specific trophy to earn on this stage, considering there is a way to make a tsunami flood the arena, which deals a lot of damage if it makes contact with a monster. However, with nothing special to earn, the chapter ended without any issue and I earned the trophy. It's just like the movies. Just after, my character was abducted into outer space for the start of the next chapter. Now on the spaceship, it was time for Chapter 10, Terror in Space. This stage introduced the second playable character that was not unlocked by default, Zorgulon. This alien and two of its buddies abducted our character and served as the enemies to defeat in a 1v3. The Zorgulons weren't any weaker necessarily, even though there were 3 of them, but they really didn't put up much of a fight and I took them out relatively quickly. The chapter ended with nothing special to earn and I earned the trophy Abductor Disruptor before heading into the final chapter of the adventure mode. The final chapter of this adventure is Cerebulon, Destroyer of Worlds. This fight is a 3-phase boss fight alone, and it will test your ability to survive, and it definitely tested mine. Phase 1 was against the giant turret version of the alien overlord that walks back and forth in the stage. After so many steps, it will stop and fire an unblockable and way too overpowered laser directly at you. Once the laser stops, I was able to dive, attack, shoot my lasers, or pick up some debris, a car, or literally anything I could get my hands on to deal some damage. The only way to block any of this damage was to stand behind one of the stone pillars on the ground, but it still resulted in some damage being dealt as the pillar eventually just breaks. I survived as best I could and eventually was able to move on to Phase 2. Phase 2 has Cerebulon emerged from the walking turret and now was just in its shielded form. This form was a lot more mobile and it allowed me to deal more damage in melee combos, but after just a few hits it would shoot me with an electrical blast and launch me away from it. Another annoying phase, but I finally bested it and moved on to the final fight against Cerebulon proper. The final phase was similar to fighting any of the rest of the cast of monsters, however, Cerebulon moves much faster and has an insanely strong combo of attacks that never seem to stop. I got tired of trying to get close and eventually just started trying to run around so I could eventually pick up the health pickups when they respawned. I also found out from button mashing, obviously, that it was actually possible to parry or interrupt, might be a better way to say it, the attacks mid-combo. I'm still not quite sure what the button combination was to do this, but I honestly couldn't care less as I got it to work. Took out Cerebulon and beat the adventure mode of War of the Monsters, earning me the trophy Titans for President. With the adventure mode done, now it's time to play the other 2 single-player modes, Endurance and Free-for-All, and earn the 2 trophies in them, King Titan and Brawler's Delight, respectively. Full disclaimer, for both of these trophies, I used the one-hit KO cheat to save time. I completed the entire adventure mode without using this, mainly because it was only allowed to be used in specific chapters, otherwise it would void trophies, so I really had no qualms completing these side objectives quickly with the code. With all that said, to earn the trophy King Titan, I needed to defeat 10 opponents in the Endurance mode. As you can expect, using the one-hit KO cheat made this trivial and only took a matter of seconds. However, I stuck around until I defeated 20 opponents just so I could earn a lot more tokens, which will play a major part in the trophies I need to earn after I complete the single-player stuff. The trophy Brawler's Delight was for winning 3 fights against one other monster in a free-for-all match. Again, the one-hit KO cheat kept this simple and it did not take but only a few seconds to complete this mode, as well as earn the last of the tokens I needed to continue. Now, speaking of tokens, something that you may have noticed, unless this was playing in a separate tab or a second monitor, was that after each chapter of the adventure mode, I would earn tokens. I'm not quite sure which factors played a part on how many tokens were earned, but I believe destroying buildings and maybe taking less damage contributed to it, but I'm just not sure. Anyway, these were going to play a part in earning the final 4 trophies of the game. At this point, I needed to dive into the 2-player modes, but all of these trophies required me to unlock each of the mini-games to be able to play them, and I needed just to plug in a second controller. The first minigame I purchased was Dodgeball. This mode was simple, and each controller had a monster, and winning this mode just involved grabbing the ball, throwing and hitting the opponent, and the first to earn 3 points wins. Doing this got me the trophy Playing Hardball. The second minigame I purchased was Big Shot. This was the hardest minigame, but still wasn't anything really difficult. What made it hard was the fact that it's kind of hard to control where you're going to land. But for this one, you have to charge forward and land in specific zones to earn points. The highest score wins, and this trophy required me to win, but also earn at least 100 points by the end of 3 rounds. I knocked this out on my first try and earned the trophy coming in hot. The final minigame to purchase was Crusher-Rama, and this was certainly just as easy as Dodgeball. This minigame is a timed mode that awards points as I destroyed the buildings in a small arena. The trophy asked me to win, as the others did, and earn at least 500 points during the round. Quick and easy, and the trophy Demolish Him Man was mine. After each of the minigame trophies, I reloaded my quick save so I didn't actually lose any of the tokens I had earned, because the final trophy to earn was for making 5 purchases in the unlock section. If I hadn't have reloaded my quick save, then I would have needed to grind more and more tokens. But as I said, I still had my tokens, so I just went into the unlocks and made 5 quick and simple purchases to earn the trophy token credit, and ultimately Monster Master as the Platinum. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so enough of the formal stuff. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit off script. So basically, I really enjoyed this game. It was a lot of fun getting to redo the Platinum. I had already done the earlier released PS4 version, the one that required you to basically 100% everything in the game a few years ago, and I definitely remember playing this game back on the PS2 when it first came out. It was just one of those that I really enjoyed the gameplay feel of. I remember playing multiplayer a lot with my buddy through this game, and we would just get together and brawl out and have a really good time. Like I said and referenced earlier, it kind of reminded me a lot of Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, which was another incredibly fun kaiju monster titan battle game. So definitely one that I would recommend. The Platinum list, especially if you're going for the trophies or and everything, the Platinum list really isn't that bad. It's a simple list, simple enough to earn, really doesn't take much time. I mean, I finished everything in just a little over an hour. And honestly, I was rushing through it, but it was still just a lot of fun. I do wish that there were a little bit more trophies for some engaging miscellaneous stuff. And even, yes, as annoying as it would be, grinding out the tokens to unlock the other characters would be kind of cool. But I do like the trophy list with what it was. It provided a nice little challenge. And I definitely am thankful for the save states feature being introduced in a lot of these, in these classic games nowadays. So anyway, definitely something I recommend. And yeah, I appreciate you watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next episode of The Platinum Journey.